All right, shall we do it? Our primetime action NBA awards.
You have to wait till June to get the actual results. We're going to tell you our guesses ahead of time.
Guesses or who we believe should get them?
Probably should have clarified that. I think it was the people that we believe should get them.
That's what I thought the exercise was.
I didn't do it as the way I think they actually are going to go, though, if that makes sense.
Okay, no, I did who I would give it to.
Yeah, I did who I would give it to.
Yeah, okay.
All right, well, this segment's already botched.
No, I think we're all on the same page.
My goodness. All right. Let's start with the primetime action Coach of the Year. Kelley, why don't you go first?
My man is the guy. This one's not very dramatic. the one that very easily could have won it last year.
Yes.
I don't want to say snubbed because there were a few very deserving candidates last year. Mm-hmm. There are a couple deserving candidates this year, but Monty Williams, you put it together 2 seasons in a row. Best team in the West, best team in the NBA, you could argue, and they have not flinched from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, even though they have dealt with their own share of injuries. Monty Williams of the Phoenix Suns, you are my vote.
Mateo.
Monty Williams for me as well. Listen, sometimes you just have to step back and you just have to give it to the guy that went out, franchise record for wins, and just absolutely dominated all season long. It's like Taylor Jenkins. It's kind of like that little piece of me wants to give it to him because the Grizzlies did so incredibly well and did perform so much better than everybody expected them to. But when you have a historic season like the Suns had, when you completely dominate a conference and you enter the playoffs where everybody is saying the most complete team, the best team is the Suns, and he orchestrated that, it's just too much for me to ignore.
I think the other part of that, Matt, is you know what? Like, Monty Williams took a young team and besides Chris Paul, took a young team.
He's old.
He's old. And over a course of a couple of years, took them from a above-average team to one of the best teams in the NBA. J.B. Bickerstaff, Taylor Jenkins, you now have a chance to do that over the next couple of years, right? Like, your time is, you might have been up there on the odds boards this year, but, like, your time is next year to go out and win this award.
Yeah, I mean, what we saw yesterday from everybody releasing their ballots was that Taylor Jenkins did get a lot of love. But I make it unanimous. I'm going with Monty Williams, who, again, as Kelley mentioned, I don't know if he was snubbed last year, but Tom Thibodeau and Quinn Snyder were the other candidates.
Yeah, it's probably a tough word to use, but
tough one.
He was up there.
And if we're doing it by season win totals, which, hey, we're bettors. We do it through that prism. It was the Grizzlies who exceeded their season win total by a grand total of 15 games. The Suns exceeded theirs by 12.5. So really not that much difference when you look at what the season win total market was pre-flop and what they ended up with. But for finishing 64-18 and not having Chris Paul for a good 17 games of that, Monty Williams, you're unanimous Coach of the Year. Can we show that royal? I like that little slot machine royal flush we had going there with Monty Williams. Let's show that one more time. No? Hey, yes, no?
It wasn't really a slot machine.
I know, but it looks cool. It's a flush.
All three of them.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll come back. We'll do Most Improved Player, Sixth Man of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and MVP. Oh, everything went quiet for a second. It was very dramatic.
Music's gone.
Oh, no, we do this music. I see. MVP, I'm going to guess we're unanimous, too, because we all have bets on it. But the others, this should be very interesting. Most Improved, Sixth Man, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year. We will do all of those next. Shall we just continue with our NBA awards? Why don't we do that? Most Improved Player in the National Basketball Association. Now, this is the more nebulous, vague criteria. The word improved does not have a definition here. It's in the eye of the beholder. Perhaps you care about stats. Perhaps you care about the eye test. Whatever your criteria is. Kelley, who'd you come up with?
Yeah, I think we've talked about the frustration of this award and how it's really that guy it usually always goes to a guy who was kind of a star the year before, who makes the jump to near superstardom or, makes that giant leap. Look, there's a lot of guys that have improved an incredible amount. You want to go just by points per game, you've got Tyrese Maxey way up there. This is what I thought I probably put the most thought into. I landed back on Ja Morant, who is going to win this thing. He's the heaviest juice, I think of any of the awards right now besides Sixth Man of the Year. I did end up with Ja, improving by over 10 points per game this season. He's up on rebounds, down on assists. just where he's taken this team, and I think we talk a little bit about this with Jokic, of like, you cannot watch a basketball game without noticing that man being more dominant than the other 9 players on the court. And Ja's like entering that realm of dominance at his position, where there are things that he can do at the point guard position where there's just not many other guys that can. The way he attacks the basket, different angles he uses with his length, it's incredible. So there's a lot of guys I think that could qualify for this award this year, but I ended up with Ja Morant.
My MIP goes to Darius Garland.
MIP. Congratulations on your MIP award.
This is, look, it could be Ja for sure. It was one of the two for me. The thing with Garland is I just kind of look, and it was the incremental increases across the board for him. They counted on it. They were reliant on him more. He played 3 more minutes a game this year than he did last year. He attempted 3 more field goals a game than he did last year. He shot 45% last year. He shot over 46% this year. He got 17 points a game last year, 21.7 points a game this year. A little bit, only a rebound more, but still a rebound more per game this year. 2.5 more assists per game this year. A slight increase in steals. Same amount of blocks. It was just the guy that was just he needed to be more for this team, and he stepped up and he was more for this team kind of across the board. Just again, little incremental improvements across the board in every single category for Darius Garland. It could easily be Ja. I just kind of went with a guy that I thought across the board, and maybe it was just a perception thing for me that I already thought Ja was awesome, and I guess it was just maybe there's a little bit of that going on with me as well. But no qualms whatsoever if you went with Ja. Mine was Darius Garland.
Well, both of your picks are adorable. Just want to say that in advance. And I'm like that with Ja too. I just have trouble wrapping my brain around the fact that he's most improved player. He's great last year, and I get it. He increased his points per game 8 points per game or thereabouts. But ladies and gentlemen, your most improved player to me is DeJounte Murray of the San Antonio Spurs, who single-handedly dragged a team that was in tank mode into the play-in. And he did so by improving pretty much everywhere 4 years after an ACL tear, from 15.7 to 21.2 points per game.
The assists are big.
From 7.1 rebounds to 8.4 rebounds per game, second among guards. From 5.4 to 9.3 assists per game, fourth in the NBA. From 1.5 steals a game to 2.0 steals per game, first in the league. All-star DeJounte Murray is your MIP, your most improved player.
Not to mention, second behind Nikola Jokic in triple-doubles in the season as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. 13 of them. Count them. 13 of them.
13. I think all 3 could share the MIP. They should all 3 go up there and get a third of a MIP apiece.
I think the other guy that was like Tyrese Maxey is hard to like.
He's in there too.
Yeah, like he's right in the mix too. I mean, when you just look at point differential from a year ago, he's right up there. I think he's right behind Morant, second in the league with where he's improved points per game.
How about sixth man of the year? Let's see if we have a royal flush here.
Right. Tyler Hero, he plays more minutes than a starter. It's just
Tyler Hero.
Yeah, I mean
Tyler Hero all around, all 3. Yes, it's how they set up the team, Matt. Right, you kind of knew this one heading into the year. He was the favorite heading into the year. He was the rightful favorite heading into the year. We saw last year how the Miami Heat were going to utilize him. They stuck to that plan throughout the year. I even have a lot of times I have issue with this award because guys may start the year as sixth man and work their way into the starting rotation and are still on here. But no, Tyler Hero has actually played more games coming off the bench. But like you said, Matt, always closes the game out, plays more minutes than starters. He's your sixth man of the year.
All right. Let's go to Defensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year, Kelley.
I went off.
You went off script?
I went off script.
Wow.
Rudy Gobert, I will go back to Defensive Player of the Year. I know this is the year that we can give it to somebody else and that we could give it to him and Giannis every single year. But it is just a guy who, it is no doubt when you watch a Utah Jazz game how much better they are with Rudy Gobert on the floor, and they struggled so much this year when he wasn't on the floor. I know this is not something that should really go into Defensive Player of the Year stats, but the guy even improved. He had the most rebounds. He had the most defensive rebounds in any year of his career this year. Down a little bit on blocks, but not really. He's still averaging over 2 blocks a game. This guy, it's him and Draymond Green to me that have the most just visible change of a game defensively when you watch him on the court. I think there's a lot of great wing defenders out there this year that there's a great excuse this year to give it to him with Gobert missing so much time, but I'm still giving it to Rudy Gobert. Sorry, he's my Defensive Player of the Year.
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it. Look, call me recency bias in here.
Recency bias in here.
My depoy is Marcus Smart, and look, it probably would have gone elsewhere if he didn't have to do what he had to do over the last 3 weeks of the season to, make the Celtics look like one of the most dangerous teams in the NBA, maybe the most dangerous team in the NBA over the last kind of month, of the season or whatever. But he was out there just creating hell for everybody that he was put up against, and kind of drove it home here, specifically with the injury on his team as well, where it was his defense was needed even more. And maybe I'm just recency bias here, but I'm going to go ahead and give it to Smart.
I gave it to Smart as well. I don't really have a ton of conviction on this, other than many of the reasons that Matt just said. I don't have a problem with Gobert, though. We'll leave this one at that. I don't have a problem with Gobert getting it any year. By the way, if you go to a place like StatMuse, Gobert is number one. But in terms of some net numbers I see, especially when it comes to guarding his position, Marcus Smart would be the guy. So that one could go either way.
It's one of those that, we say that, it just feels, we say stuff like Rudy and Giannis could win this award almost every year, especially Rudy Gobert. It also feels unfair to them, though, where it's you missed some games this year, so we got a chance to give it to a perimeter defender finally. We're going to give it to a perimeter defender just because we have that opportunity. It's I don't know if that's fair to Rudy Gobert. I know he's already won multiple of them, but it feels like that's what we're punishing him for.
Stu, Rookie of the Year. Oh, I can't wait for this one. This, by the way, could go to anybody based on people revealing their ballots yesterday. My goodness.
I have no idea who it's going to end up with, Gil. I think I changed my mind. I changed my mind twice when I was doing this. It started with I was going to go with Cade. I ended up on Scotty Barnes for my Rookie of the Year. I think looking at the overall just totality of the stat comparison to Evan Mobley is, we've brought this up multiple times when looking at the Rookie of the Year market, but the stat comparison are pretty similar stats between him and Mobley with what you're getting production-wise. Put him on another Eastern Conference team that's in the playoffs, that's firmly in the playoffs and not in a play-in game right now. It's Scotty Barnes for me. I do think it might be a little bit me thinking ahead, too. I think he's going to be the best rookie out of this rookie class. So it might be me projecting a little too far ahead, but I think with what he did on the court this year, averaging over 15 points a game, 7.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and being a core member of that Toronto Raptors team, it goes to Scotty Barnes for me.
My Roy also, Scotty Barnes.
Huh.
And if you look at the season-long statistics, like we talked about, if you look at the season-long stats, they're extremely comparable as it is anyway. But then if you go back to the recent statistics, Scotty Barnes got better as the season went on. He got better as the season closed out, and specifically got better over the last 6 weeks of the season, in which he averaged more points, more assists, a decent amount of rebounds, not as many as Mobley, but he was right there with him, shot at a higher field goal percentage, all the different things like that. I had to go with Barnes here, and as a rookie, showing that improvement over the course of the season, specifically down the stretch, was enough for me.
And I think he may win based on looking at the ballots yesterday. I went with Cade Cunningham. Points, rebounds, assists, add them up. Cade Cunningham is your winner over Scotty Barnes and over Evan Mobley. And I think he had the most pressure on him as the number one pick in the draft. I get it. The Pistons are terrible. But I get it's Cade Cunningham.
I think the odds are ridiculous still.
Yeah.
Even what they were the last week, him being around 10-1, I think is silly with Cade.
We'll do this for MVP, in a couple segments, just because.
No, we'll do it, then we'll ask Drew his.
All right, we'll do that. All right, should we do this last one? MVP, our final NBA Player Award. Kelley, you have honors.
Very boring. Nikola Jokic.
Not boring at all.
14-1. Ticket hopefully gets home. We talked about this a bit already. I just think that The Joel Embiid center scoring stat is pretty incredible. I caught that over the weekend. Just the sixth center now in NBA history to average over 30 points per game. That's great. I just think when you look at what everything Nikola Jokic does on the offensive side of the ball, especially between distributing, what he does on the boards, what he does scoring, he's my MVP. Look at all the advanced metrics. This guy is incredible. And where would this Denver Nuggets team be without him? It would be horrible. So
same. Shot 58. Listen, shot 58% from the floor, averaged 8 assists a game, 14 rebounds a game with the 27 points go along with that. The best passing big man of all time already. Already the best passing big man of all time. Look, it is we said this multiple different times. If there's no such thing as Nikola Jokic, yes, Embiid. If there's no such thing as Embiid, then yes, we're giving it to Giannis. Like there are several different guys that had unbelievably massive seasons this year. He just happened to have the biggest of those guys.
He had 19 triple-doubles, the most in the NBA this season. Dejounte Murray was the closest with 13. He also had
double-doubles he had?
How many?
66.
66
He played in
double-doubles.
74 games, I might add.
66 of 74 double-doubles. He also is the first NBA player in history to score 2,000 points, rack up 1,000 rebounds, and have 500 assists in a season. And that last stat is really all that needs to drive it home for Nikola Jokic, your 2021-22 National Basketball Association MVP.
We're just waiting on it to become official.